Welcome. And tonight's topic is called love, fear, and joy. Harnessing the emotions of the high holidays. That's the name of the topic. Okay? So I want to start actually with the issue that's probably the most commonly discussed of any topic in the world. What topic is that? Love. Okay, let's start with love. Love is the most discussed topic in song, in poetry, in drama, in arts, and we're going to start to understand that a little bit, and then we'll take it from there. But love has been such a discussion, so much so that people have developed, let's say, thousands upon quotes and slogans and cliche to try to describe love, right? You've heard, I said the Beatles. The Beatles had a great one. All you need is love, right? Right? Actually, when they wrote that, what'd you say, what? That's right. All you need is love. They wrote, when they wrote that, they actually had a lot of money too at the time, but that's what they wrote. Have you heard this one? This is another cliched one. This was a good one. It was, love means never having to say you're sorry. Was that great? There was actually a Jewish mother version of that, which is love means always having to say you're sorry. I don't know if you heard that one. That was also a classic one. Love is blind, right? Sometimes deaf and stupid too, but definitely love is blind. That is it. Love is blind. Now, all of these pithy little things, what they do for us is they kind of make us avoid the question of what is love. What is love? We have sayings, but what actually is it? How do we define what is love? And is love is it an emotion? Some people describe it as action. There's actually one of the sages and a certain psychologist also defined it as action. What action do you take? Some people call it a verb. A verb, right? Here's a verb. 1969. Love the one you're with. This is not buying her a Coke. That's not what was happening here. This is love. This is a verb here. So here they're using love in a very, very different context. People have feelings of love. What are they? So here's a person, I know a guy personally who has tremendous feelings of love for this. Betsy. Betsy. I knew I could find it on your Facebook. I knew it was going to be there. I'm supposed to be your profile picture, but I found it there. I knew I'd find Betsy. How can you look at it? I know. Betsy. So there's love, okay? Here is deep love that Matt has for Betsy. Betsy understands. Okay. Now, I have another person who also has love for an animal. It's a little bit different, this guy. But this guy, yeah, he's having his steak over there. That's a different type of love for an animal, right? The first one was Loyal Betsy. This is Scrumptious Betsy or something like that. This is a different. So this is this love? Would you define this as love? What do you think?
No. Not this one.
Not this one.
The previous one, yeah.
Look, I love a steak. You can't say loves a steak? I love steak. Okay. Let's understand a little bit what some of the systems are. So I want to start with some of the modern day systems they talk about, the biological model. Okay, this is how the biological model defines what love is. In the biological model, there are 3 stages of love. It's called lust, attraction, and attachment. This is the way some biologically modeled people.
Is that the Orthodox model?
No. So now let's look at it. In this model here, it starts with lust. This is very technical. What's the purpose of lust? Well, it promotes mating. Okay, fine. And then there's an increase of testosterone and estrogen. Okay? The problem is it lasts for a few weeks, months. Okay. So we got to move on to the next stage then, attraction. Here it's very, very functional. It's an individualized desire. It's looking for a mate. Okay, so I'm looking for an individual mate, and it's individualization of that, and that's attraction. And then the chemicals released, according to this, are neurotransmitter hormones, dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin. These are actually chemicals that you find in amphetamines. Isn't that interesting? If you don't find someone take drugs. But now here, the same problem here. The problem is that this one lasts, and I think this is a bit of a stretch even. This is a year and a half to 3 years. Then it kind of wears off. So then what do you have to do? According to the biological model, then you have attachment. It's a very cute picture after you put here. That's a very nice picture. I like that. So bonding based on commitment, such as marriage and children, that's very good. Or mutual friendship based on things of shared interest, which could be Scrabble or cheesy. It kind of goes down, you know what I'm saying? Like, it seems the earlier ones were a little more exciting. The chemicals that were secreted were things that you find when people get high. Oxytocin, they used to get my wife into labor. It's a different kind of experience, you understand what I'm saying? But it kind of is a bit of a downer. I mean, this whole biological model seems very, very functional to me. It's very hard to define this as love. It's very clinical, and really, I think that it would explain a bit of the divorce rate in America, because after you get past the second one, attachment of shared interests, I don't know. I mean, the first one was like a year and a half, and all right. Let's hit another model here, the psychological model. Now, there are many different models that psychologists give. So here, in this one, they talk about 3 different parts. There's intimacy, sharing confidences, sexual attraction, and commitment. The big C. What that number likes. Commitment. Commit. Yeah. All right, so the way this defines it is that basically love is a combination of these things. That if you have certain combinations of intimacy, you have a friend that you love, you're sharing intimate things, you may love that person if any of these things in combination are very strong. But again, it seems to be very, very lacking. This is not exciting me about love. I want to give you now what some of the sages say. Now, these sages are the medieval sages. Okay, we're going to do a few different levels tonight. I want to give you what the medieval sages define as love. Then we're going to go to the more mystical explanations here. Let's see how the medieval sages define love. They say there are 3 types of love. Okay? Pleasure, benefit, and good. What does that mean? The first type. This picture's a little bit gross, actually. Excuse me, look at this picture. This pleasure. Let's talk about Betsy a minute, shall we?
Let's talk about it.
So Betsy...
I'm not going to tell what you're talking about right
now, Betsy, the love for Betsy is because Betsy makes you feel good. You come home, she's loyal, she waits there.
She doesn't talk.
She doesn't give you any back talk. Yeah, she takes everything you do, she takes. She is and that gives you pleasure. So the pleasure that you get from Betsy or from a steak, this guy's a tad gross, but a person who eats the steak, so you're getting pleasure from the thing, and then you say you love it. So Betsy obviously has more, you love Betsy more than you love the steak, because there's greater pleasure from Betsy. Loyalty, faithfulness, cuddliness, appreciation of you. All those things makes you feel good. You love benefit. Okay? You might love someone because they benefit you. Okay? What happens? You have a business partner. You develop love for them because they help you. Someone who's always helping you out. A business partner you might not really like at all. Who knows how it works. But you have somebody who helps you out, and you feel love based on the benefit that you derive from them. You may start feeling love towards them. Now, in these 2 cases, the major problem. What's the major problem? This is called in Hebrew, what's that?
Once the benefit runs out.
That's right. Beautiful. This in Hebrew is called ahavat libadav. It's called love that is conditional. It's dependent on something. It is not the genuine deep love that once the pleasure is gone and once the benefit is gone, the love is gone. Okay? That's the problem with the pleasure that's based on these things. If I love steak, Okay? And then after a while I get sick of steak, I no longer love steak. Right? I don't have that. This is a deeper level of love. That's called loving good. I'm going to try to explain this. This is a sort of philosophical point. But the way these sages say it is that you could love something because you see the good in that. And that will give you love that is not dependent on anything. That will never cease. Let's give an example. Let's say you love your spouse. Maybe you love your spouse because they do things for you. Okay, that's benefit. Maybe you love your spouse, they make you feel good from being with them. But those things are again dependent. A deeper level will be, I love my spouse because I see the good in them. That's maybe the meaning of love is blind, because what's happening is, in a certain sense, no matter what, you see the greatness in this person. And you feel love, and no matter what happens, this person is always that goodness to you. You see the good in the person, and that's a love that you become connected. It's not based on your pleasure or your gain. It's based on them. This is who they are. I love them. I love the good inside of them. Okay? This same concept, by the way, applies to God. Okay? The sages give us this a very strange commandment in the Torah. The Bible says, love God. You better love him or else. What do you mean? How could you tell me how to feel? It's the craziest thing I ever heard. You're telling someone to love God? How do I love God? I don't know. I don't feel it. I'm not feeling it, man. You know, I don't love it. How does the Torah command us to love God? Well, according to what we've said, it makes a little bit of sense now. On the two first lower levels, the level of benefit, yeah, he gave you existence. You could focus on he gave you existence. He gives you life. Wow, he's benefiting me. How about pleasure? How about pleasure? You know, it's an amazing thing to think of, but the sages tell us the two most pleasurable, physical pleasurable things in the world, the physical pleasures that are the greatest, are two things that you would do even if they were not pleasurable. The two most pleasurable physical things are, we're doing it tonight, eating, right? We're eating, okay? And reproduction, relations. Those things, God did not have to make them pleasurable. You would have had to do them anyway, right? Even if the food tasted terrible, you'd have to eat, right? You go into the restaurant and say, you know, can I have a bowl of cardboard and a little side of earth? That's what you would ask for. Because you'd have to eat it, you have no choice. Why did God make it pleasurable? Why did he make food pleasurable? Why did he make relations? Marriage relation, why did he make that pleasurable? You got to do it anyway, you have to have kids. You know? Well, the answer is because God wants to give you pleasure. So I can love him for that reason too. But the deeper reason is to see the good, which means to love. And this is what Maimonides says, the way you find love of God, he gives two different answers. He says, listen, go look at the world. Go look at the nature. Go see the way the world is. You'll see how good God is. Or go learn his wisdom. See how good it is. Taste it and you'll see that God is good. So the way that Judaism tells you to love God on this level is to understand the goodness of God himself. This is going to apply, we'll see, for God, for your wife, and we'll see even deeper. Now, let me ask you a question now. So I have a basic idea, but I want to ask you a question. When you think of loving someone, do you think it's more likely that you'll love someone who is similar or different?
Similar.
Different. I take it.
Different? Similar?
Different. Similar than myself.
What do you think? Different. Opposite
Similar
attracts.
in a different way.
Similar. Who's that similar? What?
Similar in a different way.
Okay, what does that mean?
Different in a
Like,
similar.
similar in
complementary.
general, but a little
Complementary.
with the difference, like
Like or love?
with a caveat.
Love. Or let's go like. Let's do like first. What would be like?
Like similar people.
Similar.
Yeah.
And love?
Opposite. Different.
Okay, that's fascinating. You guys are actually hitting on the right answer. Fantastic. Let's go this. By the way, the idea that opposite attracts became popular in the world after electrical theory was showing how polar opposites attract. So it became a philosophy, opposite must attract. And most of the studies they've done, that's not true. They don't find that that works. Okay? In most studies, they come out that people that are similar feel more of a connection. I'm more like you, so we can relate. We have commonality, right? That's why I always tell people, the first thing, Jews all play the same game. They're the same game. Where are you from? I'm from New York. Hey, do you know Chaim? No, I don't know Chaim. There are a lot of Jews in New York named Chaim. I don't know. But what are you doing? You're trying to find commonality. We always look for commonality with people. So on one hand, as Arthur is correctly saying, commonality, similars, seem to move towards love. But we also see the opposite. We see it, for example, if you're really hot, you love a cold drink. You're really cold, you want a hot drink. Or I don't know if you've noticed, but men and women are somewhat different. Like really different. Really different in every single way. Men and women are opposites. Even if they're similar, they're still opposites. They're very different. We think differently, we function differently. That's just the reality. We're past that. In the 50s, the original feminist movement wanted to claim men and women are the same. But that's already been debunked by everyone. Jews have never said that. If you do studies of the brains function completely different. You do. So how do men and women love each other? How do you love God? You're very different than God. So let me explain this. And Arthur and Hugh both said this. The one level of love has to do with people being similar. That's true. And you call that like. I really love this person. I'm like them. I relate to them. But there's another level of love that works between men and women, and it works between God and people. And that has to do with opposites. And that has to do with what's called in Hebrew hashlama. Hashlama means to complete each other. Two halves of a whole. That's Effie's cookie over here. You stick them all together, right, Effie? It makes one giant cookie. Okay? Two halves of a cookie equal one great cookie. What happens there is that by men and women it's different. When a couple gets together, the male-female component get together, what's happening is it's not the same. The fact that we are different, the fact that we are opposites attract, we are so different, then we complete each other. Like a person who's hot who drinks cold water.
Yin and the yang.
Yeah. That's male-female, Zachar and Nekeva. That's what it's. Now again, I tell people when they're dating, it's usually wiser to date someone that has a similar background than you. It makes it easier. It really does. I'll think what happened today. I should have said. I forgot what I said. I said one word. I forgot what it was. I said one word, and she got the whole joke. It was a complicated joke from a song that came out 20 years ago. And she knew the song, she knew the thing. It's like, okay, so, we didn't have to say it. It was like, we're talking like just abbreviations, Beatles. I got it, that's good, that's funny. Just one sentence, because there's similarities. So on one level, being similar makes it easier to love. But when you're talking about coming whole, there, the difference, the two opposite sides, called yin yang, zachar and nekeva, male, female, that two dimensions comes to make us whole. Okay? And I want to show you this. I've shared this with you many times, but the Hebrew word for love, ahava, is rooted in the word hav, give. Now let me explain what this means in a second, because this is very much misunderstood in the world. People in the world feel that, yes, this is true. I want to get married, I want to meet someone to complete me. I want to be whole. The problem is that what happens in societies when they get together and each one's saying, complete me, it switches into a sense of, what am I getting here? Am I getting what I should be getting? No, you're not completing me. And that's not the Jewish way. The Jewish way is like this. The word ahava, here, love, the root of the word is hav, which means to give. Let me explain how you become complete. The way you become complete is when each partner is looking to give to the other one. They know everyone has shortcomings. And someone who's married, dating, whatever it is, you meet someone in the beginning, they're perfect. And then surprise, they're not perfect. That's good. That's good. No one's perfect in the world. Everyone has shortcomings. How do we go and complete ourselves? When I start giving to the next person to make them feel good, I have to complete myself. Let me give you an analogy. Let's say you have a wife who is an awful cook. An awful cook, she's terrible. Let's say you have a husband who's really a hothead. He keeps losing his temper all the time. Okay, fine. They each have shortcomings. So they get married, and now what happens is, the first day, she burns the steak. Next day, she burns the chicken. Next day, she burns the fish. What's going on? Now, the guy gets angry. He starts screaming, "I can't you keep burning the stuff?" What he doesn't understand is, her completing him is not giving him chicken, fish, and meat. That's not what it is. The way she completes him is with her shortcomings. He has to figure out how to give to her with her shortcomings, and he becomes complete. Let me give you an example. She serves him the burnt meat, the burnt steak, the 5th night in a row. He wants to get angry and yell. What's he supposed to do? He's supposed to have a whole different attitude of giving, of love. Wow, my favorite. Black meat. You gave me black meat again. I love black meat. Thank you. This is so beautiful. And you know that hammer and chisel set you bought me? I'm going to be able to use it. This is amazing. Thank you, honey. I have a friend who told me that his parents got married. He told me that the first year his father kept the bag next to him whenever he ate, and everything he ate he put into the bag. He never told his wife. It took him a year to figure out how to cook. And he'd take it, oh, this is delicious, and he'd put it into the bag. And this is what he did for an entire year. And she never knew. Never knew. What happens now? Yes, it's two halves completing each other. How do they do that? In Jewish thinking, it's through not the taking, through the giving process. I'm going to give to you, and yes, I will become complete, because I have shortcomings, you have shortcomings. Through the process of giving, we will become whole. That's the second way of love. The first higher level is seeing goodness. The second way is completing each other. Now, I want to give you, though, now a very, another level, which is very, very deep. Okay? And this kind of takes us now into the Kabbalistic realm of what we're talking about. There was a great rabbi named Rabbi Akiva. Okay, so thank you. This is a summary of what I just said. One way is goodness. You can see good in a friend, good in a spouse, good in God. Completing. You can see it in a friend, in a spouse, and in God. One, you can see it in a friend, and a spouse, and God. Let me explain it for 1 second here. Good in your friend. Okay, your friend's good, you see that. Your spouse is good, God's good. Completing. How could you say your friend completes you? How could that possibly be? I see a spouse and say God. God completes me. He makes me have existence and makes my life make sense. How would you feel towards your friend? How could your friend complete you? Could you see that? Is there a way to do that? How would you see that?
Well, I've got friends that see my humor,
Right.
so they complete me that way. I have friends that enjoy doing what I do, so I play golf with them or poker with them. So
They'll complete you.
right.
Yep.
Friends can be honest with you and tell you when you're
Right.
not on the right track, I guess, and so they complete you by putting you where you need to be.
Good. I hear. Beautiful. Okay. Very good. This one I'm going to leave for a second, and let me go to the next one. This is not Rabbi Akiva. I give me a picture of Rabbi Akiva, but they couldn't find one because we don't know what he looks like. But he does not look like that. I just want to point that out. But this picture, I guess, is the picture of the story of Rabbi Akiva. Because the story of Rabbi Akiva is a pretty bizarre story in the end of his life. Rabbi Akiva was probably the greatest sage in history. And what happens at the end of his life, he has a very, very tragic ending. That picture was him screaming. Here's the story in the Talmud of the tragic ending. Let's read the story here. When Rabbi Akiva was taken out for execution, this is talking about the Roman occupation. The Romans were killing Jews, and there's the famous story of the 10 martyrs, the 10 great sages at the time the Romans killed. We say the story on the high holidays. We tell the story. So they're taking him out to kill him. It was the hour for the signing of the Shema. In the morning we say, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, bless, hear, O Israel, God, Lord our God, Lord is one. We say it in the morning and night. It was the morning, it was time for the Shema. And while they combed his flesh with iron combs, they were torturing him. They're torturing this rabbi. He was saying about the kingdom of heaven. He started saying the Shema. So you got the picture? They're torturing him, and as they're torturing him, he's meditating and saying the Shema. Now his students are freaking out. His disciples said to him, our teacher, even to this point, that even now you got to say the Shema, you're exempt. You're being tortured. Don't be praying now. You're being tortured. You don't have to pray. Why are you praying? So this is what he said to him. It's very bizarre. He said, all my days I have been troubled by the verse. With all your heart, it says to love God with all your heart. Which I interpret even if he takes, with all your soul. Which I interpret even if he takes your soul. I said, when will I have the opportunity to fulfill this? Now that I have the opportunity, should I not fulfill it? Now, that's bizarre. I mean, that sounds like he's waiting to be killed. Right? It's weird. He says, listen, you know, it says to love God with all your soul, and I've been troubled my whole life. I can't do it. And now it's my chance, my great opportunity. I'm waiting for this day. The day he's been waiting for his whole life? I mean, this is pretty wild. I mean, I understand people, wait to go to the baseball game. You're waiting to go to the hockey game. He's waiting to die. That's what he says. Wow, it's quite bizarre. What does he do? As he's being tortured, he prolongs the word echad. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Here is the Lord God, Lord is one. Echad. He elongates one. God is one. And he says it and he holds one. And he makes it long. And then afterwards, what happens is he dies as he's saying the word God is one. A heavenly voice went forth and proclaimed, happy Rabbi Akiva, that your soul has departed with the word echad, the word one. It's so significant that he dies by saying the word one. It's like, wow. A heavenly voice has to tell us, this is good. Ooh, that was good. Because if you would have gone a little bit faster, then the next word would have been so good. A little bit slower, it would have been good. So you did it just right. Timing was perfect. You said God is one, you died, good timing. What is going on here, ladies and gentlemen? This is weird. He's waiting for this moment his whole life, and now he says echad one, and then that's like so good. What does this mean? Try to understand this. What is the Jewish national anthem? Shema. The Jewish national anthem is Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. That is the Jewish national anthem. That, in Jewish thinking, is the first thing you learn and teach a child. So the first time a kid could talk, you teach him to say the Shema. And the goal is, when a person's on their deathbed, it's the last thing they say. This is the Jewish national anthem. By the way, as an aside, it's a perfect haiku, by the way. Just want to point that out. Shema Yisrael, right? 5, 7, and 5. That's just an interesting aside, right? Shema Yisrael, Hashem, right? 5, 7, 5. Right? That's not why we do it, but I think that the haikus must have figured it out. Like, it's a very rhythmic sound, So the Shema is the Jewish anthem. That is what we say. Was that? It works, right?
I just did it.
You did it. It works. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. It works. Now, the Shema is the Jewish anthem. And what happens is you say it, the first thing you say, and when a person dies. Now, when a person is dying, that's a very frightening moment. It's a very frightening moment. They're petrified. So what is the Shema supposed to mean? And why is Rabbi Akiva's whole life waiting for this moment? And I think the answer is the following. Rabbi Akiva's whole life is trying to connect to God. He's trying. He's trying to be, as he says in the verse, where he could feel one with God. But it's hard when you're alive. It's really hard when you're alive, you know? You're a separate person, God's. How do you strive to be one? What he's saying is, my whole life, I have been trying to be prepared for this moment when he's going to give his soul back, that he's going to feel connected to God and as one with God. That's what he's saying. Now, he's preparing for it. Now comes the time. The time is now, he has to give his soul back to God. Now, how does he do it? Is he kicking and screaming? Or is he realizing, when he says God is one with him too? God is one with him too. That means that if your soul is connected to God and you become united, then when you say God is one, you become part of that. When Rabbi Akiva's time to give his soul back to God, what happens, he's saying, this is where my soul is supposed to be. I'm not dying, I'm kicking and screaming and it's terrible. No, I've been practicing my whole life to understand that I am a part of God. I am connected to God. My soul goes back to God. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. And that's why he's getting tortured, but he's not feeling it. In his mind, he's now going and he's connecting God in the deepest way. And that's why when he elongates the word one, it says, praiseworthy, happy are you, Rabbi Akiva, your soul left at one because you understood your soul became one with God. That is the deepest level of love. The deepest level of love is when you understand that you become one with something. That's why the Hebrew word ahava, love, you take the numerical values. Hey is the fifth letter, 2, 5, and 1. Obviously, the first letter is 13. Take the word echad, 1, it's also 13. Why is love and 1 the same numerical value, the same gematria, right? Every Hebrew letter has a numerical value. Aleph is 1, Bet is 2, and it goes up. Why is it the same? Because the deepest level of love is when you become one with something. That's the deepest level. So you want to love your spouse? The deepest level is when you feel as one. When you feel as one, you are one and the same. We're one person. We feel like one. Okay. And that's also, by the way, how you could love another person. It's an amazing thing. The Judaism has a commandment, love your neighbor. How do you love your neighbor like yourself? It's impossible. Well, I'll tell you what the example the Talmud gives. It says like this. It says you're in the kitchen and you're cutting vegetables with your right hand. By mistake, you chop your left hand. You cut your left hand. So what does left hand do? Of course, it starts beating up your right hand. You just hurt me! Why don't you do that? How come if you don't, when you cut yourself, you don't start beating up your other hand? Why? The answer is obvious. Because you're one body. The depth of understanding love to a fellow person is really understanding you're one. What the mystics say, our souls are all interconnected. If you want to love someone in the deepest way, you realize that you are one with that person. That's what happens. And last one is God. The love of God really means, on the deepest level, means that Rabbi Akiva is saying, I'm connecting, my soul is going back to its source. And then I don't have fear, I have love. That's the idea of love. Let's review a second. There are 3 levels of loving in the deeper sense. One is loving something that's good, seeing the goodness in something. When you see the goodness in your spouse, you see the goodness in God, then you feel love. That's one level we talked about. The other level is talking about completion. The spouse that completes me, a friend that completes me, or certainly God who completes me, gives me existence, makes my life meaningful. And the deepest level of that, what makes love, is when a person feels one with the thing that they love. As our souls go back to God, as husband and wife may be one unit, as all people may be interconnected. That's the idea of love. Questions, comments, thoughts, what I said so far?
I never forget that when I was in school for occupational therapy, that they had this. It was just a video, and I don't know if it was on YouTube but it just stayed with me of the petri dish of the cells, of the heart cells when they're put together.
Describe it, how's it go, what happens?
Well, what happens when two heart cells kind of get put in the same dish is that they are at different rhythms, and slowly they find their way to like the same rhythm.
Oh, that's so cool.
So it's like you could watch it happen. It just goes like, this is going like, and this is like, and then slowly as they get closer, like just two of the small cells, they just become, like you described, that kind of sense of one, and the rhythm becomes the same, and the way that they move together becomes the same. So it's like,
incredible. I had a trick I did with all my kids when my kids would scream at night. So what I did was I would hold them, and then they're screaming, and my kids scream, it's like, ha, 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 ha. So I started out doing the same thing with them, ha, and then I would slow down, ha, ha, ha. And when I got the kids' rhythm exactly with mine, and then I slowed it down, then the kid also slowed it down. That's a good idea, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if this is going in a different direction, but you said about, the metaphor with the hand and the chopping and the...
Right.
And I've heard the metaphor before, but I think a major difference though is that, or at least what makes it hard, is that it's not just seeing that my left hand and my right hand are one, I'm in control of both. So I know that it was a mistake, and I can work harder not to make that mistake. If somebody else harms me, I may understand that we are in some metaphysical way all one, but if we were really all one, if I had one brain and I was in control, well, I wouldn't let that person hurt me. So I feel like there's an aspect of control there that also...
Right, I mean, that's true, that's true.
Makes it...
That's true, but if you really felt that you were like one body with this person, then hurting them wouldn't be the solution. I mean, you may say you would certainly want to try to explain to them not to keep doing this, both for your sake and for their sake. But you would not want to have a response to hate or to attack them, because that wouldn't be a appropriate response. And yet we do feel that way very often. So I hear what you're saying. It's true. It's obviously not exactly the same. But the bottom line is that if someone hurts you, then if you really felt you were one with them, then you certainly wouldn't want to wish them evil. You want to stop them. You wouldn't want to wish them bad, because that's wishing yourself bad. That's the point. All right, any other thoughts about love? We're about to move on to one other aspect, and then we're going to tie it together. Yeah.
But there's also the element where that other one has to feel one with you. It's not just, okay, you feel one with them.
That's right.
And
that's right. Now, again, on a person and a spouse, hopefully you're working towards that. A couple working towards the feeling of being one unit. That's the process of giving. As you give and invest in them, it's a very amazing thing what happens. As you give someone, you put yourself into them. You invest in them. It's crazy. People naturally love themselves. I mean, we don't be narcissistic. People naturally feel an affinity to themselves. That's just the way it is. I had a guy who was on death row, and he tried to kill himself numerous times, and he was walking down death row. This is a medieval story, and there was a rock that was in the wall there that fell down. It was about to fall on the guy's head and kill him. What did he do? He jumped out of the way. The guy tried to kill himself numerous times. But it's an instinct. You are built in a way that you have self-preservation. So you love yourself. When I give to someone, I invest myself in them. So that the lines become blurred of what's me and what's them. And then you can really become one with somebody. That's the deeper sense of love of love of couple, and certainly love of God. Now for friends, you're right. It's harder for other people. That's why we're not so good at loving our neighbors like ourselves. We're not so good at it, because we don't feel that. We feel very, very distant. Yeah.
One more question.
Yeah.
In this day and age, in terms of online dating and the whole idea of what trying to meet on love and giving from profiles and faces, and trying to write to each other, and that eventually makes to meeting, which takes a while for even that process. Do you feel like that becomes a very, how do you, what is your thought on that?
I think it's a, look, part of it is just a result of our society now. I mean, we're always affected by the society we live in. So profiles become profiles, and then and it's different than being a person. You're checking out a profile.
Right.
So that's a result of our society. But I think that on the whole, it's not a bad system because it opens you up to meeting people who are in other countries, in other places, and the fact that you can talk to them. I mean, this is not going to be so. What I'm going to tell you now it might not be so acceptable in the world. But the reality is that in dating, what happens is that if you're online dating, you're doing a lot of talking before you come together. And what happens in the world is that when physical contact happens, then everything becomes blurred. You see, that's what politicians know. I go over to Matt and I go, hey, how you doing? I shake his hand, I give him this. At that point already, we have a bond. Physical contact is very, very powerful. So what happens is that you have couples who saw each other in the bar, and they now have physical contact, and then they may be dating for a while, and all of a sudden they talk about these things that like, whoa, we're from completely different worlds. We have none of the same values at all. But that wasn't the issue before because everything became a little bit blurred.
Sure.
That's like, people often go out with someone and they know it's gonna end, but they kind of stay in the relationship for another 6 months, year, because it's not. So one of the advantages of that type of dating is that you do get a chance to talk before you get so much interaction that you can actually get to know the person a little bit first. All right, now I want to go to an emotion that's almost the opposite of love. Okay? It is a powerful emotion, not exactly the opposite, but that just like love moves you towards something, if you love something, you're moved towards it, this emotion moves you away from something. It's a very primal emotion. Does anyone know what it may be?
Fear.
Fear. That was the name of the class, that's right. Fear. Fear. Love and fear. Now, so let's understand here. Is fear a good thing or a bad thing?
Depends on the circumstance.
Yeah, right. Is fear a good thing or a bad thing?
Depends on the circumstance.
Depends on the circumstance. You actually need fear. If you weren't afraid, that's why it's one of the earliest emotions, because a person has to know how to run away from danger. So fear is just a bad thing, not necessarily. In Jewish thinking, there's a lower level fear. And this is not so great, but it's a good start, which is fear of negative consequence. Not a high level, but it's something. When a person doesn't want to do the wrong thing because of that negative consequence, at least we actually understand there that this may be a bad thing. When we're relating to metaphysics, relating to God, this is a low level. Person just doing it because I fear if I do the wrong thing, lightning bolt will strike me. Okay, it's still something. It still keeps on the straight and narrow. But an amazing thing, think about it a second. When you love people, it's easy to transfer to God. You love God, you can transfer to people. Fear is exactly the opposite. The more you're afraid of people, the less you're afraid of God. The more you're afraid of God, the less you're afraid of people. It's an inverse relationship. Think about it a second. In Jewish thinking, you really want to not be afraid of people. You want to be able to say, oh, my fear is only for God. I'll give you an example of a very great story in the Talmud. Talmud has a story where a rabbi named Rava. Rava wanted to bring a gift to a Persian governor. The Persian governor was Bar Sheshach, and he wanted to bring him a gift. And Rava now brings the gift. He goes to this guy Bar Sheshach, the Persian governor, and he walks in and he sees Bar Sheshach is sitting in a hot tub. He's in a hot tub with rose petals throughout, and all around him are naked harlots. No picture here, sorry, no slide. So let's see what's going to jump. So in the picture, so he has all these naked harlots around him. Now, when Rava walks in, and he's got to give him a gift, and there's a rabbi. And Bar Sheshach sits back and he goes, so tell me, Rabbi, do you guys have like this in your world to come? And he says, yeah, we have better. He goes, nah, there's nothing better. He goes, the rabbi says to him, yeah, there is, because you guys have fear of the king, and we don't. You guys fear the king? At that moment, the people come running in, the governors come in and say, Bar Sheshach, get up! The Persian king wants to see you right away. He's like, ah! He runs. And before he runs out, he says, Rava, you guys are amazing. Anyone who looks down upon you, their eyes should pop out. That's what he says. That's a very weird transaction. What's going on there? What's happening is that Bar Sheshach thinks he has it all, but he has fear of people. The Jewish view is, no. Really, that's I want to fear people less, and I want to have maybe fear of God, but I don't have to be afraid of people because, God runs the show. Again, it doesn't mean you should walk into dangers. It doesn't mean that. But fear as an emotion is a powerful emotion, and in this story here, it moves a Jewish person or a spiritual person to act in a way where they try to avoid negative things. That's the lower level. But the higher level is called awe. That's different than fear. Fear is a low level. Awe is you walk outside, you see the starry night, oh my gosh, tremendous awe. You start realizing the greatness, and it's awesome. It's a type of it's called Yira Romius. It's called the awe of heaven, which is the greatness. That is a very, very high level. Now I want to tell you something amazing here. It actually stems from love. Stems from love. Why does it stem from love? Because if you love someone really, really dearly, you don't want to mess up. Your concern, your positive fear is, I love you, I don't want to do something that's going to hurt you, I'm careful. So the lowest level is fear on just, I'm afraid of punishment, but the higher level we try to work towards is this awe where it comes from love. I love my relationship with God, I've developed that, and now what happens is, I want to make sure I do things right, I'm concerned to do things right. There's one more advantage about awe than love, and then we'll try to tie it together. When I love someone, it's me and them, it's two of us. Right? Even Rabbi Kiva's story, he wants to become one with God, but he's here and God's there. He's trying to become one. When you have awe of God, it's called, the Kabbalah say it's hitbatlus. You disappear. You're like, and you just kind of become one. So there's an advantage to awe. In one way, you just sort of disappear and connect with God. But love is higher in the sense that it's really coming from your deepest essence. And the fear that comes from love, the awe that comes from love, is a very high level. These are two emotions in Jewish thinking. Now I want to just tie the whole thing together for you. These two emotions, Kabbalah say, are wings. They are what move us. They move us. When I have love for something, I move towards it. I can fly. When I have fear towards something, I run away from it. These things move me. They move my world. We're coming to the high holidays. These are exactly the emotions of the high holidays. What happens first? Rosh Hashanah, the day of judgment. Ah! Right? That's what kind of fear you have, but something. That, I don't know. But it's the day of judgment. There's awe, there's fear. Oh my gosh. And in a certain sense, if you work on that, you develop that, you can sort of become one with God in the sense that, oh, this is serious. Wow. And you're using your positive fear to keep you on the right track. It's the day of judgment. I want to be right. And that's the sound of the shofar. The sound of the shofar, when the shofar blows, what happens is God judges us with compassion, but it's a day of judgment. When the shofar sounds, God says, okay, I'm judging you. I'm your father, though. I'll judge you good. But it's a day of judgment. Then from Rosh Hashanah, from the awe and the fear, we start moving towards it. After we disappear, we reappear. And now we're starting to build ourselves towards the level of Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is actually the day of love. It's the highest day of love. That's why in the service of Yom Kippur, we always say the 13 attributes of compassion. That's when we're repeating it over and over and over, understanding that God's saying, wow, I'm relating to you, I'm loving you. I'm going to make this work out. I'm going to make the judgment be successful because of my relationship with you. So the emotions of the high holidays are harnessing all of these feelings. It's the fear and the awe of judgment, but then it's moving towards an expression of seeing the goodness, a completion, and becoming one. That's what's happening. And therefore you go from Rosh Hashanah, awe, then you move to the higher level of love, and then after that, what's after that? Sukkot. What's Sukkot? Sukkot is called the holiday of joy. Zman Simcha Seinu. It's the holiday of joy, because now you've harnessed all of those feelings and you've gotten them together. You're now someone that can love people and you can love God. And you have the proper fear in the proper place. You're a whole human being. At that moment, you can actually fully experience joy. And that's where we quickly run into the Sukkah. The Sukkah is supposed to be God's canopy. It's God's presence that God says, hey, come inside and connect with me. It's really our bridal suite with God. That's what it is. God saying, come into the bridal suite. We've completed the relationship through awe and love. Now we're going to get together and have the joy together in the sukkah. That's this time. That's the emotions. That's what we're trying to get to. Okay. Thoughts, questions, ideas? Yeah.
I had one thought of the love and the oneness, that you can forgive somebody if you feel one with them. So maybe that's another reason why Yom Kippur is connected with love.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, any other thoughts, questions, ideas? Okay, thank you all. Thanks for coming, and hope you had a good time.
Yeah.